Hello, good morning and welcome. And if you're just tuning in, this is Lifestyle segment on the Koko This Morning Show. I am Annabelle Bevelyn AJB, but you can call me Bevelyn for short. And today, I'm stepping in for Miriam Abena Adidi. We know that we are streaming live on all social media platforms, so you can connect with us, share your thoughts wherever you are. We are also live on GoTV channel 184. Now, we are talking about a very important issue today, and I want to ask you, how much do you really know about diabetes? We hear it all the time. I mean, many of us know people living with it, but do we truly understand the signs, the risk, and the lifestyle choices that affect our health? Well, this morning, we are breaking it all down for you in its simplest and, practical way. So trust me, you might be surprised as to what you will learn today. And to help us in the studio today, this important conversation, we are privileged to have a very special guest. He is a dedicated medical officer and physician, passionate about obesity and lifestyle care, especially the prevention of chronic metabolic diseases, including diabetes. Beyond his work in the hospital, he is also a former athlete with multiple collegiate medals, fueling his strong advocacy for physical activity as a key part of health living. He also continues to champion positive change in how we understand and manage lifestyle-related diseases here in Ghana. Dr. Robert Kwame Ayi. Good morning, Doc.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for a very nice introduction.
You're welcome. It's good to see you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you as well. It's good to be back.
Yeah. Today we are talking about diabetes. And, to the layman, they want to understand, what is diabetes?
Yeah, diabetes. Diabetes is it's a serious problem that we are battling with today all across the world. I'm not going to give you very scientific definitions for everyone to understand. So diabetes is a metabolic condition characterized by persistently elevated or persistently high blood sugar levels. Everyone requires sugar in their bloodstream to be able to perform their day-to-day tasks, because that is one of the primary chemicals in the body for energy. However, in diabetes, if a person has been diagnosed with diabetes, it just means that the blood sugar levels are not within normal limits, typically above the upper limit. And it has its issues that it comes with. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, once said that anything done in excess opposes nature. So similarly, if the body has anything in excess within it gets thrown out of whack and starts to misbehave. And people think that diabetes is primarily a thing of sugar, but no, it's not just the blood sugar that is elevated. There are some downstream problems that come with the elevated sugar. Let's talk about the pancreas first and foremost. Okay, so the pancreas, there are a nest of cells within the pancreas which are responsible for producing insulin. We call them the islet cells, particularly the beta cells within the islets. And these produce insulin. Insulin is the primary hormone responsible for driving sugar into the cells, because the sugar just lives within the bloodstream. It needs to be pushed into each cell for energy or respiration so that each cell can metabolize it and produce energy for daily living.
All right, Doc. So with all this technical team, there would be someone out there who don't even understand. In their mind, when it comes to diabetes, it's all about sugar.
Right.
So we would like you to break it down.
Yeah. So the sugar is persistently elevated. Okay. And typically, so we have types of diabetes. It's important to understand the types for us to really understand the downstream effects and how the problems arise. Okay, so as I was talking about the insulin drives the sugar into the cells. So once there is a limited amount of insulin within the bloodstream, there isn't going to be enough sugar pushed into the bloodstream. So also the sugar just lives within the bloodstream. And so that's one of the primary issues in diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the body destroys, it has its soldiers that are parading around which go and destroy the cells that produce the insulin. However, in type 2 diabetes, the body is perceiving that there isn't enough insulin because it's just not sensitive to the insulin, as well as a reduction in the amount of insulin that is produced.
All right. So statistics shows that about 537 people globally are prone to diabetes.
Million.
Now, we want to understand which people are at risk when it comes to diabetes.
Great. When we talk about people at risk, we are looking at risk factors, okay? Risk factors simply mean the things that put people at risk of developing a certain issue. There are things that you can control, and there are things that you cannot control.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the things that you cannot control, we call them non-modifiable risk factors. Okay. And ethnicity is a very important one. Let me just add this, that genetics play a huge role. Okay. So the genetic influence for type 2 is actually greater than for type 1. For type 1, it's about 30 to 60%.
Yeah, I was actually coming to that. We want to know the types of diabetic patients that, we have. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll hit that right after the risk factors.
Sure.
So what was I saying?
You were talking about the risk factors before I chip in.
The percentages.
Yeah.
So about 30 to 60%, the genetic influence exists for the type 1. However, for the type 2, it's about 70 to 90. And if you have both parents living with diabetes, your risk is inching close to 70%. And so that really influences how conscious you would need to be about your health to be able to make lifestyle choices that would affect your health positively. So that's for the non-modifiable, your ethnicity or your race. If you're African, if you're African American, if you're non-white, Hispanic, if you're a Pacific Islander, the risk is very high. But when we talk about the modifiable risk factors, that's where we have diet, your nutrition. It has to be great. We'll talk about that later. Physical activity, not being sedentary, tobacco smoking, even your sleep, how you sleep is also a very important thing. The cosmetic products that you use, if you're using products that have hydroquinone, if you want to look fair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never knew about it because there are some people in Ghana, we see certain people, especially fair people. In Ghana, every fair person thinks they are beautiful. I don't know if you've ever come across that meme. So because they see that, people like praising fair people, They also want to, but they don't know the health implication of trying to change your skin color and all of that. So I want you to talk about it again, that it can lead to diabetics.
Yeah, it's a very important thing. A lot of people that I come across in the clinics who use the skin lightening agents or the creams that contain what we call steroids, primarily hydroquinone, they do not embrace their melanin. They think that if they are dark, they are not beautiful.
Yeah.
But that is far from the truth, guys. I want you to know that if you're black, you're dark and lovely. Melanin is to be embraced, and don't try to get rid of it. These steroids within the creams, your body has its own steroids, primarily what we call cortisol. Okay? And what happens is cortisol helps with blood sugar regulation and whatnot. When it's in excess, your blood sugar also goes up. When you're using the steroid creams, it tends to elevate the blood sugar, and people tend to get what we call steroid-induced diabetes. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are other health implications of using these creams, which can cause a life-threatening crisis.
I hope the viewers are listening. So those of you who like to, I want to entoso. Okay, Black Doc, we'd like to go back to the types of diabetes. Yeah.
Okay, great. There are different types of diabetes. Okay. There are so many types. At large, we have types 1 and 2. Okay, so type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, what everyone knows. Type 1 diabetes, it is what we call autoimmune in nature. I'll break it down.
Break it down. Yeah, very necessary.
Yeah. everyone has soldiers walking in their body. The soldiers are parading, they're marching. Yes, sir, yes, sir. When they see an offending agent or if they see something foreign in the body, they'll strike it down.
Yeah.
If they see something foreign in the body that looks like it's going to harm the body, they're going to strike it down. Okay. In type 1 diabetes, remember I talked about the cells within the pancreas that produce insulin. In type 1 diabetes, the soldiers within the body see those cells as foreign. So they'll go and strike them down. And so it takes time for that destruction to take place. People living with type 1 diabetes are usually young. Okay. They can be adolescents, they can be under 10. They are typically young. And
that's because they consume a lot of sugary stuff.
No. This one is regardless of sugar.
Okay.
However, I should say right now that we have this analogy that if the genes are the gun, or no, if lifestyle is no, if the genes are the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Okay, so if you have the genetic predisposition to developing a certain condition, it is the person's environment that's going to determine how early the problem comes or whether it's even going to come at all. Okay, so typically with the type 1, it's not really a thing with the person's environment. There are some environmental triggers, however, like viruses and the consumption of some foods like bovine milk, but these are things that are still being investigated. However, at large, it's primarily a problem with the soldiers parading around and just going to hit the place where the insulin is produced. That's for type 1. So it's completely different from the type 2. People living with type 1 diabetes typically form about 5 to 10% of the total prevalence of diabetes worldwide. The rest of the 85 to 90% are type 2. So type 2, typically the person might be obese, okay, but knows that a person does not have to be living with obesity to have the type 2 diabetes. Okay. There are a lot of lifestyle things. Again, I mentioned that the environment plays a very important role in whether the person is going to develop it or how early they are going to develop the issue. So we can have the obesity, but also the nutrition. Is a person eating a high-fat diet in our environment? A lot of our meals are high-fat. A lot of our soups have a lot of fat in them. If you're consuming ultra-processed foods, a lot of them have a lot of saturated fats in them. When we look at carbohydrates intake as well, it doesn't even have to be pure sugar that you are taking. Yeah. Because starches are converted into sugar. It's really a thing about meal quality and meal quantity. Because the quality, you're looking at whole foods. You know, it's very important to eat whole foods. And whole foods, if we're looking at carbohydrates, you know, they have a certain amount of fiber in there, whether it is the digestible or the non-digestible kind. There is some fiber in there which helps with how quickly the blood sugar gets elevated, or whether it's going to lead to like a steady increase and then it plateaus. So you want to make sure that there is sufficient fiber in your meals, and that's what makes the carbohydrates healthy. Otherwise, if you're eating a fiber depleted carbohydrate, it's only going to shoot the blood sugar so much, and that tends to put a lot of pressure on the cells that produce the insulin. Yeah. So high fat diet, high carbohydrates diets, those are really bad. Other things such as poor sleep tends to also put a person at risk. Shift work. But
Doc, when you spoke about diet, I wanted to ask you, what should a healthy Ghanaian meal look like?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are people that consume a whole lot of carbohydrates, starchy foods, just in the name of I like swallow, I like to eat fufu, I like to eat bamku. Even late nights, they would like to still consume them.
Yeah. It's a thing that really needs to be discussed. And honestly, I feel that we really need to get to a place in our in our nutrition research where we determine how much of what is in our local foods. For example, a bowl of banku, how much, how many carbohydrate calories are in a bowl of banku. You know, we can't really determine that unless someone has developed, you know, like how we have the fufu mix.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have the nutritional information label on there. Yeah, you don't always have it on there, but it's a plus when you have it on there. We need to get to the point where all of these things are declared so that we know that, oh, well, if I'm making this volume of banku with a certain mix, I know that I'm consuming about 250 calories of carbohydrates. So we are aware, because it is not a good thing to have a huge carbohydrate load all at once.
Yeah.
You might think that, oh, well, I'm going to just eat this meal and I'm not going to eat for the rest of the day. That's not a good thing. That's, well, you are probably front loading, and that's not a good thing. You're supposed to spread how much you require in a day. Let's say if you need to stay weight neutral.
So kind of like portion control too.
Yeah. But I mean, you wouldn't know what your portion control might be unless you know some of these things are declared that, oh, well, for you to be weight neutral, you might need about 1,800 calories per day. And let's say you're going to eat a bowl of kinky. You don't even know how much is in there. And there are speculations that a bowl of kinky can range between 700 and 1,200 calories. And so if you're going to eat 2 balls, which a lot of people do, they are just going to go way above the limit. And even 7 calories, just as little as 7 calories above how much you need in a day can affect your health.
All right, interesting conversation. So we would like to know, how is diabetes related to obesity? But before then, we would like to know at what stage do you have to, you know, see the signs of diabetes? What stage? Like, what are some of the signs that you get to know?
Okay. Diabetes is hypertension and diabetes are brothers. Okay, so hypertension, hypertension is diabetes. Diabetes is big brother. So sometimes you might not have symptoms. Okay, someone can have diabetes for even 10 years and not know until something major happens. Maybe an infection happens and they get into a diabetic emergency for which they have to be admitted. And during the workup, we find that the person has diabetes, the person has X and Y, they have this diabetic emergency.
Wow.
However, if it does announce itself, there are the 5 P's of diabetes.
Okay.
That's polyuria, where the person urinates too much. I'm not really talking about how frequently a person urinates, but it's more to do with the volume of urine. So the person can just be peeing and peeing, standing peeing. The urine isn't finishing. It just keeps coming. It keeps coming. So yeah, the urine just keeps coming and coming and coming. So that's polyuria. Polydipsia, the person is always thirsty. You know, the persons always have to drink water because they are always thirsty. Of course, because they are losing a lot of water. Yeah. Because the sugar is coming out through the urine and is drawing a lot of water with it. There is polyphagia. That means the person is eating too much. Okay. So they have a voracious appetite. They are eating too much.
That can be a symptom of diabetes. Wow. Interesting conversation.
Yeah. Wow. The 4th P is polyneuropathy. That's a big word. I'll break it down. Yeah. Polyneuropathy just means, in simple terms, the person might have issues with their nerves, and sometimes it can be sensory. So they might start to have pins and needles. Okay. You know, or they might have weakness or wherever. They might have a nerve problem. They might have numbness of their feet, and so they might want to soak their feet in hot water. Never do that, I beg you. Okay. Just so that they can feel something. But more often than not, these tactics...
It can make your feet numb or... Yeah.
So you feel like you're walking on cotton. Wow. Yeah, so you can't feel the ground. So some people, to be able to feel the ground, they have to really stomp. And that is a telltale feature of a neuropathy. And then the fourth P is weight loss.
Ooh.
I know it's not a P, but
okay.
Yeah, so typically when a person has diabetes, because the body doesn't sense that there is sufficient insulin within the bloodstream, insulin has to drive the sugar into the cells and helps with energy production. Now, the body has to rely on other fuels aside from glucose because glucose isn't being metabolized well enough. So it would recruit parts of your muscle. It would also recruit fat. So fat and protein, particularly amino acids. So amino acids and lipids, what we call fats, are liberated from the stores and so that they are converted into sugar. And that's why the person loses weight.
All right. So, Doc, we'd like to know, is diabetes only for older people? Because normally we hardly hear, or we hardly see people, like young people, being diagnosed with diabetes, but it's usually like the old people. That is when you see someone saying this, oh, call Hajia, or I catch and say, oh, sugar, no, a panicate be just a little. I don't want too much. I don't want too much sugar. That is when, and it's mostly the early ones. You not see the young ones. We go to the patch of sugar, we want a lot. Yeah, so that the Koko will be nice. Yeah. So what do you have to say about that? Koko digest, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. Let's revisit the types of diabetes. So we talked about types 1 and 2. There are other causes. Let me put it that way. So there is also gestational diabetes. Okay. So that's a pregnant woman, usually in her second trimester. Typically between like 22 to 26 weeks is when it can be diagnosed. And there are some things that come with the pregnancy, that come with the placenta, and some adaptations that take place during the pregnancy that puts a woman at risk of developing gestational diabetes. Now, typically, if the woman is at risk of type 2, she can get the gestational. And after delivering, when the placenta is out, the baby is out, gestational diabetes will go. However, there is a very high risk, close to 50 or greater % risk of developing diabetes within the next 10 to 20 years. So it's not like, yeah, I'm out of the woods, I've delivered, so I'm not going to get diabetes anymore. There needs to be screening. If there aren't any pertinent risk factors, like maybe the person has a family history of diabetes, then we're looking at least 3 yearly screenings. So every 3 years, she needs to get screened for diabetes. However, if there are like really strong risk factors, the screening can be done even earlier, at an earlier rate. If there is pre-diabetes, however, if the person has pre-diabetes, then the screening can be done yearly.
Okay.
So that's for gestational. If someone has maybe injury to the pancreas, maybe the person was involved in a road traffic accident, or something, or the person developed pancreatitis from whatever cause, and it's affected where insulin is produced, then it means that they aren't going to produce enough insulin to be able to clear the glucose load within the bloodstream, and so they are going to get diabetes. So if the person is really young, under 45, under 35, and they have an injury to the pancreas, whether from infection or whatever, then they're going to develop diabetes, what we call pancreatogenic diabetes, type 3C diabetes. There is a type 5 diabetes, however, which was published recently, where if a person has had malnutrition in their developmental stage, whether it was childhood or adolescence, the pancreas wouldn't have, or the beta cells specifically, wouldn't have enough volume and number in post that period because there wasn't enough carbohydrates and protein for development at that stage. And so when they get older, the metabolic demands, the pancreas wouldn't be able, or the beta cells would not be able to stand the metabolic demands as the person ages. And so that's the type 5, typically associated with malnutrition in their developmental stages.
All right.
So from this, you can tell that it really doesn't matter, even with ethnicity. Okay, so someone who's Asian, Asians typically tend to, when they are gaining weight from whatever cause, whether it's from sleep disturbance or overnutrition or whatever, they tend to not have, they tend to not store a lot of their fat underneath their skin, but more in the abdomen, in places where the body doesn't like to really store the. So it's kind of like a bad fat store. The fat stores within the abdomen are more metabolically active, and they release some chemicals that can affect the pancreas. So because of that, you can't really use the BMI for people of Asian ethnicity to say that, oh, well, they are at risk of diabetes. They have a lower BMI cutoff to determine whether they are at risk of the metabolic implications of that specific weight. Typically, we're looking at a cutoff of 23, from 23 to 25. But in greater than 25, we might classify them as being having obesity. But we are moving away from BMI cutoffs, however. We are leaving that to us clinicians, but not for the public.
Wow, there's so much to learn about diabetes. But we would like to know how often should we check for diabetes? Because from how our conversation is going, you can tell somebody even has diabetes. Like it could be like pre-diabetes, but they don't know. So how often should like checkups be done when it comes to
Okay, let me say this, that a lot of people do not have a primary care physician. Okay. They just, if I'm sick, I'll go to this hospital or that hospital, but they don't have a specific hospital that they go to for screening, for checkups.
That's true.
And that's something that we really need to think about and implement. You need to have a primary care physician. So based on whatever they find out, or they find, they can say, oh, well, come at this time. So that if anything is detected, say pre-diabetes, for example, because pre-diabetes is a good stage where the bad processes can be detected so that a person doesn't develop a full-grown diabetes. Even some people who have pre-diabetes are at risk of certain signs and symptoms, even complications of diabetes. So it's not really a safe place to be with, I have pre-diabetes. I am not overtly living with diabetes, so I'm safe. No, it doesn't.
You might not
work
know,
that
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So it's good to stay clear from that category. So if a person has been found to have pre-diabetes, we wouldn't advocate for the 3 early screening. The 3 early screening is for people who are older than 45 years with no obvious risk factors. However, if there are risk factors, even before the age of 45, screening needs to be discussed and needs to be done even more frequently.
So would also like to know what are how can we manage like diabetes, especially like the elderly people, like by the time they realize that they are diabetic, then the harm has already been caused. So how do they manage the
right.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a study. Please ask the question again in the next 2 minutes because I need to talk about this study.
All right, sure.
There is a study that there are a few studies that have been done which show that individuals living in rural Ghana are actually consuming more calories than people living in urban Ghana. Okay. Now, you would have thought that it would be the other way around, that because you're in an urbanized community, because of the food availability, you'd be eating more. But no, it's actually the other way around. So you might think that, people living in rural Ghana, they don't have these metabolic conditions, they are healthy because they eat a lot of the... But no, are you sure? You have the stats. Now the stats are showing people living in rural Ghana. And we see a lot of people in rural Ghana come with diabetes. You might wonder, but isn't this person physically active? Isn't this? Well, some of them are overnourished, but also remember we talked about the type 5 diabetes.
Yeah.
Yes, so that is also one thing to consider. Now, in terms of aging, there is a substantial amount of muscle loss that comes with aging. Okay, and a person's degree of physical activity really plays into a person's metabolic health. And muscle is something that we really need to preserve. And as a person ages, they tend to naturally lose their muscle mass if they do not put those muscles to use. Okay, so regular exercise is a very important thing. Regular physical activity, if we're looking at aerobic training, which is just one aspect of fitness, aerobic fitness or cardiorespiratory fitness, we have ACSM guidelines, the American College of Sports Medicine, where we are looking at 150 minimum to 300 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity per week. If we're looking at vigorous intensity exercise, it's at least 75 minutes per week. Now you might be wondering, how can I tell if this physical activity is moderate intensity or vigorous intensity? Well, you might need to work with your exercise professional for more specific details. However, we have the talk test. So if a person is, let's say, walking, okay, doing their leisurely stroll, or let's talk about exercise. So with exercise, you are planning.
Okay, so time is not on our side. We would like to ask, what small change can viewers start today to reduce the risk? We'll end with this question.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a good thing that you're asking this question, because I have a song to summarize.
Yes, we have a song for you.
I have a song to summarize.
Okay. Doc wants to surprise us today. Hey!
Okay, so I'm going to ask everyone in the studio to help me with the timing. First of all, let me check my instrument. Okay. So I want everyone to clap like this.
Doc, today you came prepared, though.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
So just keep that timing for me. Good. Okay. So this is the diabetes song. Keep the timing for me. All right. Okay. So this is just a summary.
Did I keep going?
Right? Keep going. D stands for doctor. Oh no, a little slower. Good. So we're going to spell out every letter in diabetes.
Okay.
Good. D stands for doctor. Listen to your doctor. That apple a day.
Hey.
Keep me away. I stands for indifferent.
Okay.
Be mindful of your health. Get screened regularly so you can live long. A stands for nothing. 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 Okay, let's go on. Be body composition. Maintain a good weight so you can be lean and have a head of steam. E for exercise. Moderate intensity. 150 to 300 is where you should be aiming. B stands for time, bedtime, fun time, no stress time. E stands for eating, low fat, moderate carb, good protein. S stands for smoking, that tobacco. For diabetes, it's gotta go.
Wow, that was very, very interesting. You came prepared today.
Maybe.
Wow, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
If you joined our conversation, well, this was Lifestyle segment on the Koko Digest Morning Show, and thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot. I had so much fun. Doc,
oh, did you?
did?
Okay. Yeah, I did as well.
I had so much fun. It was good doing this with you. We'll catch you same time next week on the show. I think there's a birthday message for us. Okay, so this is from, is it Jlo or JLO? He says that happy birthday to my son, Kofi. May God continue to bless you in everything that you do. Amen to all your secret prayers. And this is to, I'm wishing everyone out there, if today is your birthday, I'm wishing you a very, very happy birthday. So this is how we end the lifestyle segment on the Koko Digest Morning Show. Thank you so much for staying with us.